Fox Weather storm specialist Mike Seidel is live in Folly Beach previewing the threat this morning. And Mike, we just were talking to you going into commercial break, and we saw some folks that are out there doing what they do a few days out ahead of a potential maybe landfalling tropical system, and they're surfing a little bit, which they can do right now, but maybe in a couple days, not going to be the smartest move.
Probably not, but I was here on July 4th as we were tracking Chantal. We went from Clearwater Beach to Jacksonville Beach. We got here on the 4th. On the 5th, we moved up to North Myrtle Beach for the landfall. The waves were big and the surfers were out. And then with Aaron last month, you know, it's been a month since we've talked to you, yours truly, because the hurricane season just went asleep. No complaints here. Right through the peak of the season, we went 3 weeks basically without anything on the weather map in the Atlantic. But now we've got Umberto, which is going to have at least an indirect impact on steering the future Imelda. We still don't have a depression. And until we get that center of circulation, the models are going to still struggle with the tracking and the timing. But the trend has been a promising one for those of you who do not want a landfalling hurricane. But the other issue is, does it stall off the coast and we get a tremendous amount of rainfall? This morning, though, it's as quiet as it can be. We've got maybe 3-footers. We've seen some of the surfers trying to catch some of these barely bigger than ankle slappers. There goes one. He's up on a wave for about 7 or 8 seconds. So that's what we're facing. Water temperature is still comfortable. There were folks in the water yesterday. It was a nice afternoon. Temperature's up around 90, and the water temperature right now at 77. So let's first show you the cone and the track. That's the latest from the National Hurricane Center at 5 a.m. this morning. And you'll notice it does eventually become a depression and then a tropical storm. It would be Imelda. And then they forecast to become a minimal hurricane early next week as it slows down. And then they start to turn it to the northeast. That has been the trend in all the global models. And that's a promising thing. One thing it does, it lowers, at this point, the amount of rainfall in the eastern Carolinas. It also lowers the threat of any significant impact in western North Carolina, including Asheville. Today is the 1-year anniversary. Yesterday was the 1-year anniversary of Helene making landfall, and then the next day on the 27th, that's when we started to get the significant problems, the flooding, the wind damage, the power outages, the catastrophe getting underway in Asheville and all of the mountains of western North Carolina, most of the mountains, 1 year ago today. So we don't want that. We can't say it's not going to rain up there, but certainly the larger amounts are going to be well south and east of the mountains. So let's show you the radar in motion again. Next couple of days, a few showers here and there, maybe some thunder, but the main impacts don't really get in here until the first of the week. So no issues with getting around today, tomorrow, even into Monday. And again, we're going to have to keep an eye on the models and how it figures out what's going to happen once we have the center, a latitude, longitude that goes into the initialization of the European and also the American GFS models and the other models, the hurricane models too. And then we can figure out if it's going to make that turn and is it going to slow down before it makes the turn. That really affects the rainfall totals and also the impacts on these beaches as far as surge and erosion and also the winds. Right now, based on what I'm seeing on that cone where the Category 1 hurricane is sitting, based on that forecast alone, you could expect hurricane force wind gust here on these beaches here in South Carolina. That would be a gust up to 74 miles an hour. That's just my gut and kind of the sheer takeaway here. And we're 3 to 4 days out from the worst of the weather based on the current timing. So Nick, that's it in a nutshell. It's just basically watching and waiting as these computer models get more information, especially as the hurricane hunters feed that back to the Hurricane Center, and that goes in to the initialization of these models, and then it will spit out what it thinks is going to happen. But again, the trend has been promising away from a landfall, but we still have that angle of how much does it slow down, how much does it stall, and how much rainfall do we get. And the rainfall totals here on the coast could be as much as 5 to 8 inches. So we're certainly concerned about localized flooding, flash flooding, certainly along and east of I-95 down through the low country and the beaches here in South Carolina and up, including Wilmington and Wrightsville Beach in North Carolina.
Yeah, some areas that flood pretty quickly on just a normal afternoon thunderstorm in the summer. So we've got to be very vigilant and watch closely as what's going to happen with this system. Mike, I don't get a chance to talk to you a whole lot. I'm curious. You're always at the coast covering storms like this. Are you a surfer? I heard you talking about the ankle slappers. That's kind of an insider term. Do you ever get out there?
Oh, I get in the water. I grew up on the beach in Delaware and Maryland, but I never picked up surfing for some reason. I was always kind of working in the summer, so I never picked up surfing. But I know the terms.
Yeah.
I watched Fast Times at Ridgemont High and movies like that, so I know what a tasty wave and a cool. Well, I know what a tasty wave is. I don't know what I have my own definition of a cool buzz.
We'll just leave it at that. Mike Seidel, thank you, sir. We'll be checking back in with you all day long. Maybe you can take up surfing when he's retired. Our very own Mike Seidel. He's our Fox Weather storm specialist. He's probably covered so many of these storms, he's probably forgotten a third of them at this point by now. Mike, what are you seeing out? What's the vibe of the town? I always wonder, because I've done that before, where you go a day or two ahead of time when a storm is approaching, and I try to talk to people and kind of gauge if they're concerned and how much prep time that they need and what they have to do. What are you getting? What's the vibe of the town there in South Carolina?
Well, last night, Nick, there was a lot of folks in town. I think more locals now than vacationers, because it is well after Labor Day. I was here on the 4th of July, and the town was packed, as you can imagine. But it was very busy last night. Friday night, restaurants were very busy. I had a nice dinner with some friends, had some mahi-mahi, and there's a lot of discussion about what's going on, because there's all this information now available on the internet and all the weather models. And the story about two storms colliding and becoming a big storm. So it's all out there. But here at Fox Weather, we try to cut through all that and get to the chase. And the bottom line is the trend is looking more positive for the coast, and certainly inland like western North Carolina, where at this point the rainfall totals will not be in the disaster category. In fact, right now it looks really, really good. And today is the 1-year anniversary of the impacts getting underway in Asheville. Landfall was August 26th, the evening of the 26th last year. But the locals are watching very closely and keeping an eye on every model run like we are, because there's so many questions to be answered. First, we got to get the depression and the storm. That'll happen today based on the satellite loop. And thankfully, we have the hurricane hunters going in and out of there consistently to get us the latest data. That goes into the model forecast, the initialization, and then models can do a better job predicting the future. The other angle is that we have Umberto. This is unusual, not typical in the Atlantic Basin to have another hurricane, assuming this becomes a hurricane, or another tropical system that close. So that's going to impact the steering. And then we have the front coming off the coast today. We could have a few showers and thunderstorms here in the Charleston area. Some showers in the area, but nothing so far here at Folly Beach. I want to show you yesterday. This is about 6 o'clock, sun going down. And look how wide the beach is. Boy, I talk about a wide beach. Plenty of beach here, even at high tide. And this was at low tide yesterday. So look how wide it is. We got the tidal pools. The kids love to play in. And now back live. Low tide was before sunrise. The next high tide coming in a little after noon today here at Folly Beach. And we've got about a dozen surfers out here on either side of the pier. And they're trying to catch something. Then we got three coming up on this wave. Let me see how they do. One off to the left, one to the right. There he goes. He's up. Not bad. I mean, these waves are very, very small. These are about maybe 2.5 to 3 footers out there. The wind is almost non-existent, basically calm or light from the north. So we have nothing at this point indicating any kind of tropical weather. You got to remember that the potential tropical cyclone, the future Imelda, is hundreds of miles away, down between Cuba and the Bahamas. So that's why this weather is from the cold front coming off the coast, and it's going to go stationary. So, Nick, that's how it stands here, just watching and waiting each model run. The main impacts here will kick in Monday into Tuesday, maybe into Wednesday, based on how fast it moves, how long it stalls, and then how fast it moves out, assuming that comes up and hooks are right. The best scenario would be it coming up and taking a right very quickly. That doesn't seem to be the case because of the steering kind of collapsing as we get into the early part of the week. The major impacts here will be the heavy rainfall, upwards based on the current forecast of 5 to 8 inches along the coast, and then 3 to 5 back towards I-95, lighter amounts through Greenville and up towards Raleigh and up the I-85 corridor. We'll have wind, we'll certainly have rip currents, big surf, and the risk of beach erosion. They're all coming into play. As far as wind gusts right now, let's go with hurricane force, potentially hurricane force wind gust based on the current track and the current intensity forecast from the National Hurricane Center. And this is all subject to change, so keep checking back with Fox Weather throughout the weekend. But today, tomorrow, even into Monday, not expecting anything significant right here on the South Carolina coast, outside of a few showers and thunderstorms.
Real quick, you kind of alluded to it, but you said it's least likely for this to make a quick hook back out to sea. So do you think what's most likely in your mind? It'll stall or possibly move further inland?
Well, the trend now with the models is it does not make a landfall, which is good, because that cuts down on the surge, because along into the north of the center you'd have a higher surge. So it stays off the coast, that cuts back on the surge. But if it stalls, then you have significant impacts with coastal flooding and beach erosion, because you have not only one high tide, but maybe 3 or 4 high tides where you have the water pushed up and eating away at these beaches. So a stalling storm means more rainfall and more coastal impacts from a surge and erosion perspective. You know, we've seen tropical depressions. I remember covering one in Mobile Bay years ago, and it was a tropical depression. It stalled out in Mobile Bay, and some areas had over 30 inches of rain. So keep that in mind. And remember Florence. Back now almost 10 years ago in North Carolina. It landfalled, moving at about 1 to 2 miles an hour, and some of those areas had 20 to 30 inches of rain. We don't want to see that. Not at all. We want it to, maybe it stalls, but then it gets kicked out by the middle of next week.
Yeah, tropical rain certainly adds up at a different pace. Here's to hoping this makes that quick right turn to the east and moves out to sea very swiftly. Fox Weather Storm Specialist Mike Seidel, thank you for that update, sir.
Fox Weather Storm Specialist Mike Seidel is live for us in Folly Beach previewing that threat. Mike, it's been a while since we've seen you. South Carolina, as you know, under a state of emergency. What say you with PTC number 9?
We're all watching and waiting. The model runs as they come in every 6 to 12 hours to see what it ends up doing. Right now, the trend has been a positive one, meaning it doesn't make landfall, it does still stall, and then it goes out to sea. So we still have a lot of impacts ahead of us. Not today, not tomorrow, not until the first of the week, before we have the rain impact, the wind, the surge, and the beach erosion. In the meantime, we've got some great news this morning. We've got a newly married couple. This is Adam and Danielle Smith. And I came in yesterday afternoon. I was up on the top floor. I look out and I'm like, someone's getting married. And it was you two. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mike.
How's it feel to be married?
Very blessed. Very blessed.
And you too, right,
I
Danielle?
couldn't be more excited, honestly.
Okay, so you got a big honeymoon plan. But first things first, this is still hurricane season here in South Carolina. Now, when you picked the date, you told me about a year ago, were you concerned about the hurricanes or maybe an afternoon thunderstorm or both?
Absolutely. Always in Charleston, you always got to worry about the weather. We were just thunderstorms a year out, but over the past couple of weeks, as the hurricane tropical system has come through, we've been monitoring the weather app 30 times a day, keeping our fingers crossed.
Well, you timed it out beautifully, because Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday would not be good days to be out here. Regardless of the exact track, it's going to be wet and windy.
Yeah, absolutely. We were so glad because it did rain last night, probably around like 9. So the weather was perfect. We couldn't have asked for a better day, honestly, but we were concerned. But they had a backup room, so we were okay with that, but we're glad we got married on the beach.
You know, I was here a few years ago and someone got married, expecting to be married on the beach, and they moved them into like a conference room, which is not nearly as a good setting. It's not as romantic as being out on the beach.
Right, exactly. That's what we were hoping for, and we got our wish.
Yeah, and it was quick. They're always quick.
Yes. We had a backup plan, but everything worked out to perfection. I have the most beautiful bride in the world, and she was on display.
Now getting brownie points already. How about that? So now where are you headed for a honeymoon?
We're headed to Costa Rica.
Not bad.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
We're
we'll try
excited.
to keep the rain out of there, the rainy season. And what do you have planned down there for a week? Or...
Just traveling up the coast, some whitewater rafting, zip lining, a lot of outside activities, and of course some relaxing.
And some food?
Oh, absolutely. We're going to go to a couple of the resort restaurants and we're going to try what they call a soda.
You mean like a carbonated soda?
No, a soda is like where they cook food out of like a mom and pop's house.
Oh, like street meat.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Better than that, I'm sure.
Yeah, hoping.
Okay, Adam, Danielle, congratulations.
Thank
Mike, thank you so much.
Yeah, well, it was great to see you get married, and good luck, and have a great time in Costa Rica.
Thank you so
you so
much.
much.
Thank you.
The happy couple, good news out here on the beach. They beat the weather. So there you go, Michael and Bain. A happy ending, and they'll be out of here long before we get the impacts from the future Melda here on the South Carolina coast.
I love that you got the wedding. That is so
Yeah.
beautiful. They got so lucky with the rain,
You know,
seriously.
Mike, they always say that like rain on your wedding day is supposed to be a sign of good luck, right?
Yes, I think I've heard that.
Right.
Yeah, so I was gonna say
That's what they say.
Happy news for the happy couple, that's for sure. Mike Seidel for us live in Folly Beach, South Carolina, where again we're expecting perhaps some rain and wind impacts. We'll of course check in with Mike here in just a moment. And Fox Weather Storm Specialist Mike Seidel live for us in Folly Beach, previewing the threat. Where again we learned that City Hall has been closed. And Mike, we have that newest update that just came in, and you told us in the last hour. You know, what you said basically is what we're seeing in the forecast cone track. Curious what your thoughts are on the 11 o'clock advisory.
Well, I'm not surprised that they continue to make that turn and keep it farther off the coast. Now, my gut 3 or 4 days ago was there was not going to be a landfall. That was just based on looking at the steering flow at 500 millibars, the surface front, Umberto. So that was my gut feeling, and I'm hoping that my gut plays out, and that's what's happening. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying, looking at all the weather maps earlier in the week, I thought to myself, I just don't see this making landfall. And thankfully, I hope that's the way it's going to play out. With that said, I could be wrong the next time, by the way. This is weather. Trust me, it's a very humbling experience forecasting weather. With that said, there's still going to be impacts. Heavy rainfall, gusty winds, erosion, rip currents, because it is still slowing down. In fact, let's show you the track right now. This is the newest from the National Hurricane Center as of 11 o'clock Eastern. And look how long it takes just to get up to the latitude of Jacksonville. That point there, that's Tuesday morning, almost due east to Jacksonville. That's 3 days from now. So we've got a long weekend to watch this. It's not going to intensify very quickly. We do have now the tropical storm watches up for parts of the Florida coast. That includes from the Palm Beach, Martin County line north. That includes Indian River, Brevard County, Volusia, and that also includes Daytona Beach and the Space Coast. So they've got that watch just in case, because it is going to be paralleling the Florida coast very closely and offshore. So just in case there is a change in the forecast. But again, we've got a long way to go. The slowing down process is concerning from the rainfall perspective and also from the beach impact perspective, because quick moving storms, you typically deal with one high tide cycle. With this one, we may have to deal with 2, 3, maybe 4 high tide cycles. But the fact that it's farther off the coast also says that the wind gust on land will be less. If we're talking about a minimal category 1 hurricane off the coast where they're showing it now, then the wind gust here likely won't even go above hurricane force in wind gusts. That's the thinking now. Again, we're 3 to 4 days out before it gets up to Jacksonville, off Jacksonville, and then it starts to head out to sea. A lot can change, but again, for the past 24 hours, the trend has been for no landfall and going out to sea. What we're looking at now are the surfers. They've been out here since first light. Yeah, we're not talking much of the way of wave action right now. There's nothing really impacting the surf per se directly. Umberto way too far away. Gabrielle is heading towards Portugal. So we have kind of a light chop. These are 2 to 3 footers maybe. Water temperature still, for me, 77. That's swimmable. I'd go in 77-degree water. And the tide is now coming up. High tide is coming up here very shortly. In fact, about 45 minutes, just after noon, and it'll get up to this area. Now, I want to show you something that I noticed this morning. We are getting some erosion. We have had some erosion. I'm not sure if this is from yesterday, but we have a bit of a drop off here by about 8 to 12 inches. And I expect there will be some sand lost. But this is high tide, normal high tide, and look how wide the beach is. I'm not concerned at this point with any water getting into any properties. We've got a young lady out here. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, how are you?
Good, what's your name?
Judy.
Judy, where are you from?
Somerville.
Somerville. I'm Mike Seidel with Fox Weather.
I saw you this morning
Well,
out here, but I didn't know you were still here.
And we're here all the time. I'll be here till the storm's out of the way. Now you're from nearby, or are you concerned?
We're about 35 miles up the road,
Yeah.
Ashley River Road. I'm more concerned about the wind and the rain.
Right.
I think that's the main thing, but kind of where we are, a lot of that bypasses us. So.
Were you here for Hugo in 1989?
No.
No, you missed that one.
We've been here 12 years.
Okay, so you really haven't had a big one.
We had 2, and we didn't leave. We stayed.
Yeah, well, I don't think you need to leave for this one.
Oh, good. That's what I was going to ask you. All right.
It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, enjoy.
too.
You know, even if the sun isn't out, it's always a great day to be out here and relax.
Isn't
The
it?
water.
I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, and the sun angle's lower now. Yeah. Okay, let's go back to.
Enjoy your day.
Oh, thank you. You too.
Here.
Let's go back to Michael and Bain in New York.
Hey, Mike, I was actually kind of curious as we start to, see this storm developing and getting potentially stronger, maybe even becoming Cat 1, even Cat 2 as it moves up the coast. You were kind of mentioning a little bit about the storm surge potential. I'm curious what you think of it there, and also moving up towards the coast, maybe even towards the Cape, if that should be anywhere of a concern off the coast there as well.
You mean the Outer Banks, Cape Hatteras? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Or Cape Fear, Cape Hatteras? Well, there is a concern. There is going to be some push of water, but the fact of the matter, if it doesn't come on shore, when it comes on shore and the winds are counterclockwise, if this is the coast and it's coming at my phone, on the north side, you have more of a push of water. That's where you have the highest surge. But right now, it's not making landfall, so that really cuts down on the extreme surge. And we're talking about a Category 1 hurricane forecast 3 days from now. But I think there will be some water rises, obviously. Tides will be higher than average. Whether the surge is 1 to 3 feet or 2 to 4 feet remains to be seen. But right now, I think there will be some higher than normal water values at high tide. Certainly the water will probably get up to at least here. You got to think that. And there's going to be the beach erosion. We showed you some of that. But it's the successive high tides that can cause issues, and also that northeast wind, which is an eroding wind. It's all going to play out, but it's going to be a slow slog through the weekend and early next week. In fact, we don't expect any real impacts here until Monday at the earliest. We may have a few showers and storms around today and tomorrow like we've seen on the radar, but they're not associated with the future Imelda. As you saw the track, it's going to take till Tuesday to get off the coast of Jacksonville, and we're up here in South Carolina.
Right.
Yeah, where you are, Mike, we're not really expecting it to make its closest approach as South Carolina until Tuesday evening into early Wednesday morning. So a lot that we're going to be keeping our eyes on. Thank you so much for your insight. Mike Seidel, live for us in Folly Beach, South Carolina. Mike, we'll check back in with you in this moment. Fox Weather Storm Specialist Mike Seidel, live for us in Folly Beach, previewing the threat. Mike, at this point, given the newest information that we just saw, what's your biggest concern?
There's going to be 2 concerns here, the heavy rainfall and the associated localized flooding, and then also what happens on the beaches with successive high tides because of the nature of the system slowing down. And keep in mind, based on the current forecast, it doesn't get east or southeast of our latitude until Tuesday night and Wednesday morning. So we have a long way to go. Right now, I want to show you the current radar because we do have some showers coming right up the coast off to the south and southwest. There was a little lightning earlier down towards Tybee off Savannah. This is not part of the future Imelda or the TD. It's just along this front that's coming in, this cold front, which is going to stall out, and that's going to play into the steering of the future Imelda over the next couple of days, along with the jet stream coming off North America and Umberto playing a role into the steering. Back out live now on the beach. Temperatures are in the mid-70s. A few of those raindrops now coming down. Surfers have been out since first light. Wave heights about maybe up to 3 feet. That's about it. These are not huge waves, but they're fairly clean, and they're catching some rides that run maybe about 10 or 12 seconds. But this is not like we saw with Aaron and with Chantal back around July. We were here on July 4th and 5th, and the waves were much, much friskier because the storm was much closer. Remember, it's still way down there in the southern Bahamas off Cuba. Meanwhile, behind us, you can see the storm clouds in the distance, and in the distance, looks like a little bit of a shelfie out there. But again, no severe weather expected, just some showers. And then into tomorrow, we really don't expect any rain here either. It's not going to be until Monday that we start to feel some of the outer rain bands circulating up from the south and southeast here into Folly Beach and the coastal Carolinas. So you saw the track, makes that sharp right turn as we get into Tuesday night and Wednesday, and then heads out to sea. But in the meantime, even though we're not in the cone, we still get the impacts. Rainfall totals could still top out at 5 to 6 inches in the coastal counties, the low country. If you're north and west of I-20, I should say I-95, we're looking at 1 to 3 inches. And this is a great forecast. The trending has been great for western North Carolina. Today is the 1-year anniversary of Folly getting up there and doing horrible devastation and destruction. And they're still trying to get their life back in order up there in the Asheville area. Things are much better now than they were. So, Michael, we are watching and waiting as it moves this way, but it's going to be a long wait. So pack a lunch and stay with Fox Weather.
Yeah, certainly. It is going to be a couple of days that we're watching this for sure, Mike, in the short term. And then, just a quick mention here, Mike. Yeah, Fox Weather Storm Specialist Mike Seidel live for us in Folly Beach previewing that threat. And it's raining. I'm looking at the radar. It is raining. It's pouring, and you are out in the middle of it, Mike.
Yeah, raining lightly now at Folly Beach. That sent a lot of folks under the pier and also under the umbrellas. We got a group over here. There's no lightning on the radar, so I feel pretty confident we're okay out here. We had some lightning earlier well down the coast off Savannah. That was several hours ago. So some light rain. This is not associated with the tropical depression. This is with this weather front that eventually is going to get off the coast later tonight and Sunday, and that will play some part in the steering, but the main steering is going to be with the upper level jet stream and also with the Umberto out in the Atlantic. Here's the Atlantic right now. We got, it looks like most of the surfers have called it a day. They've been out here since first light. 7:30 this morning, they were out surfing. These wave heights out there breaking at about 2 to 3 feet. These are not big waves. And the wind has been calm or running north from the light side, 5-6 miles an hour. That's about it. And now we have the showers in the area right on the coast. You can see those on the radar. Narrow band of showers going up across Charleston, Isle Palms, and then inland. But there's really nothing else out there. Here and there, there's some showers. And we'll have this kind of weather this afternoon, this evening. Tomorrow, I don't think we're going to see much rain at all, much like today. It's really about Monday, Tuesday, and even into Wednesday based on the movement. How fast does this system move? How long does it stay off the coast? And that will eventually impact how much rainfall we get. So Michael and Bain, that's what we're watching. The movement of the storm, northwest at 6, but what happens in the coming 2 to 3 days, and how do the steering currents impact the future movement. The new American model, the 12Z, the morning run of the GFS is in, and it's once again keeping it away from the coast. So there won't be a landfall based on that and what we've seen in recent runs, but there will still be plenty of rain. That'll be an impact along with whatever happens on the beaches, because we're going to go through at least a couple of high tide cycles with the water above where it should be. We don't have to worry about the moon, because the full moon, the harvest moon, is not until Monday, the 6th of October. So we're in between the new moon and the full moon. So that's at our advantage. High tide was about an hour ago, and now it's going out. The next low tide about 6:20 this evening. But you can see the beach is nice and wide, and I can't imagine at this point, based on the current forecast, whether we will have any impacts beyond the sand dune and the fence. Michael, Bain?
Yeah, and Mike, I think it's great to reiterate, and you mentioned this last hour, but I want folks to really listen into this, that it doesn't seem that for folks that are concerned about storm surge, that storm surge is going to be a big threat where you are. Is there any threats that you're thinking in terms of storm surge, even up towards, say, Cape Hatteras?
Again, it's about the track of the storm, because as the storm comes up, we will have the northeast winds, and then when it goes off the coast, the winds will come more offshore. So we're going to have that window of opportunity for some surge, But again, we're forecasting a minimal 75-mile-an-hour hurricane, the Hurricane Center is, and we'll see if that verifies. But I can't imagine surge is going to be a major, major issue. Not to say there won't be some, but we're not talking the numbers that we see with hurricanes, larger hurricanes that make landfall. If this were to make landfall, that area north or to the right of the center would see a more pronounced surge. But right now, again, the trend has been since yesterday for this system, the future Imelda, not to make landfall on the southeast coast. But again, it's the rain. We'll have some wind gusts. But right now, I think it's the rain and what kind of impacts we have on these beaches. Those are the two #1 concerns right now. If it stays off the coast like it's being forecast, and it's a 75-mile-an-hour hurricane, it would seem to tell me that we're not going to have a big impact as far as the power grid goes either.
Right.
But we still have several days. It's going to be Tuesday, later Tuesday, before it gets either southeast of here or east of here at this point. And it's only, Saturday. So we got 3 days left, 2 to 3 days before we deal with the worst of it.
Exactly. And, we really appreciate your insight there, Mike. Thank you so much. Try and stay dry. Find an umbrella if you can stand under it. Fox Weather Storm Specialist Mike Seidel, thank you.
Fox Weather Storm Specialist Mike Seidel joining us from Folly Beach. He's been with us throughout the morning into the afternoon. Mike, a lot is going to change between now and next week. I don't have to say that. We all know it. But these coastal impacts, I think that's a big talking point. Those are on the table, and depending on what scenario ends up happening, these impacts could be prolonged, especially if the system slows down.
Yeah, certainly Monday night into Wednesday here. The question right now is, do we get a landfall or not? Well, the European is coming again, the GFS both saying no, we're not going to get a landfall, at least not in South Carolina. But the new European next Friday has it coming back towards North Carolina. We're going to discount and throw that out right now. That is a week away, and I don't even worry about that. But I saw that, I went, I might as well mention it on the air. In the short term, though, we have a tropical depression, soon to become a tropical storm, and it's going to slowly move up the coast, off the Florida coast. We'll have live coverage from there starting tomorrow morning, because we do have now tropical storm watches up from north of Palm Beach, and that would be Martin County, Brevard County, Indian River County, and also Volusia County. That's the home county to Daytona, just in case they get potentially some tropical storm force wind gusts. That's a tropical storm watch, which was issued at 11 a.m. From the National Hurricane Center. We'll have another update from them a little before 5. We'll see what they do. I suspect they won't do much with the track. The question is, how long does it stall out, and where does it stall out? When it stalls out, that increases the threat for more rainfall here on the beaches and inland and flash flooding, and it also increases the threat for more coastal beach erosion, because we have to go through more than one high tide cycle, and if we go through more than 1 or 2 or 3, we get more erosion. Now, the other issue is, where does it stall out, how far off the coast, and that certainly impacts how stormy the winds are going to be, how far west and north the rain gets. But it's looking very likely now that western North Carolina, where they're dealing with the first anniversary of Helene's, just incredible destruction this time last year, will not get any significant rainfall. So we can take that off the table and worry about from I-95 to the coast. So that's the latest, Mr. Bender, and we're just going to keep watching it. We don't expect much action here tomorrow. We've had a few light showers today. The real impacts will come in here on Monday, later Monday, Tuesday, and maybe into Wednesday. Again, a lot to be hashed out after we get past Monday on the track, but also the speed and the motion. How long does it slow down, for how long, and then how quickly does it make the turn out to the east?
Wondering, Mike, the atmosphere, because we had mentioned and talked about the tropical feel. It's already there. I mean, we were looking at even rain, aside from today, the past couple of days, and there were talks on, are we going to see one of these predecessor rain events? Doesn't look like that's really materializing, but the atmosphere, soupy enough.
Yeah, it's warm. Yesterday's high was in the low 90s in Charleston, and the heat index was up close to 100 degrees. Today we're staying in the 70s because of the clouds, and we've had some rain showers the past hour. The surf is not really up, but there's enough surf out there for the surfers, Stephen. They've been surfing since sunrise this morning, not these particular ladies and gents, but the wave heights looking to be tops at 3 feet. And they are catching some waves, but they're not up very long because the wave, the period, everything going into the manufacturing of the waves and bigger waves isn't here. Our winds have been running calm to about 5 miles an hour. So that's why the waves are just minimal. This is basically just your typical lackluster wind beach surf day. Although we had some sun earlier. But the surfers, I'm sure they'll be back out here tomorrow morning grabbing what they can while they can. And then we'll see what happens as we get into Monday and Monday night. We'll start to get some of the swell, not only from the future Imelda, but also we'll have some of that eventually getting over here from Umberto, even though that's way out in the Atlantic right now.
Yeah, but we're talking about a possible, I mean, I know it's not been forecast to become a Cat 5, but darn near close. A Cat 5 is a lot of energy that we put, and we know and remember what Aaron did, and it's going to be in a similar proximity compared to where Folly Beach sat with Aaron. So something to watch. All right.
And you know, I think one thing we can take off the table is the two storms getting together and producing one monster storm. Have you seen that going across the internet these days?
I'm glad you mentioned even the new Euro, because you know that's already out there too, and how this thing's going to do just a revisit. So hey, it's worth mentioning, but it's also worth saying that you did discounting.
Well, you know, when I see stuff like that on Jane's, social media posts, it's like, she knows better than that.
Oh, he's bringing you into this fight.
Yeah, don't bring me in. Don't bring me into this.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm only kidding.
It's
Jane knows better than to post a forecast from 10 days out. And yeah, there was so much chatter online about storms coming together. And I used to get that question when I'd speak to kids when I was in local news. What happens when a hurricane runs into a tornado or things like that, things that don't really happen per se.
Yeah.
But the recent days with this, perfect storm coming together, like in the early 90s off the New England coast where we had a cold low and we had an old tropical system, these things are going to stay well apart from each other, but close enough that Umberto will have some steering impact on the movement of the future Imelda early part of the week.
As for one of our question marks lie, right? So we'll see how much of an influence we get, but both systems definitely giving us a run for our money.
We'll be paying attention to it. It's going to be a slow burn, though, over the next 48 hours. Mike Seidel for us in Folly Beach. Mike, appreciate the report there.